on the Varna system or the Varna Dharma. These are created by Lord Krishna himself. And he says in chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, these Varnas are not invariably the fourfold order was created by me according to the divisions of guna. Guna means quality or aptitude, and karma means duty, previous impressions, and work. These varnas are not based on birth. These varnas are created by him, by Lord Krishna, based on the gunas and karma. And there are three gunas: Rajoguna, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamasa-guna. Sattva means purity, harmony, and light. The nature is balanced, luminous, peaceful, and wise. The effects: Sattva leads to clarity, knowledge, happiness, and spiritual growth. It is associated with wisdom, compassion, self-discipline, clear consciousness. Example, a calm mind during meditation, a selfless act of kindness that all belong to Sattva Guna. The Rajoguna is activity, passion, and motion. Its nature is energetic, dynamic, restless, and driven by desire. The effects are it causes attachment, ambition, and emotional turbulence. It is associated with action, ambition, competition, and material pursuits. And the example, a person working hard for success, feelings of anger or excitement are all Rajoguna. Then there is Tamoguna or Tamas, inertia, darkness, and ignorance. Its nature is dull, lethargic, deluded, and resistant to change. Its effects are it leads to confusion, laziness, attachment, and suffering. It is associated with ignorance, procrastination, and destructive behavior. Examples are overeating, addiction, deep sleep, a stubborn resistance to truth. These are all uh, tamoguna. So, depending on the varnas or the impressions left from previous life, the soul, after the death of the physical body, reincarnates in another body, carrying with it its own tastes, talents, inclinations, and capacities. We all know that no two individuals are alike or equal to each other in every respect. The fundamental differences in inclinations and capacities are not easy to wipe out totally by applying external pressures. Insentient things can be molded to our liking, but sentient beings cannot be molded or shaped wholly according to our ideas and ideals. Wisdom lies in recognizing these innate differences in individuals and trying to help them to develop their personalities according to their capacities. The Vedas speak quite unequivocally about these inborn differences. What I would like to do is to quote some verses from the Veda to emphasize the Varna system and then go to a discussion of what Lord Krishna says in chapter 4 and chapter 18. Our intellectual capacities are indeed diverse and different. Spiritual reserves and austerities are various and divergent. Among us, the carpenter likes to have a saw, the doctor an ailing person, and the one well versed in all the Vedas, a performer of a sacrifice. O superior moistener, shower thy mercy for the sake of the soul endowed with perceptive faculties. That's in Rigveda. Recognizing these natural differences, the Vedas describe four spheres of activities and provide each individual with the scope to develop himself or herself according to his or her own choice and serve humanity from the sphere of his or her choice. Equal opportunity is provided to each so that he or she can rise to the fullest potential. Each sphere of activity, based on the solid ground of individual choice, is called Varna. There are four Varnas, as I talked about, and these are the Brahmin or intellectual, Kshatriya or martial, Vaishya or commercial, and Shudra or service. In 413 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna declares, this fourfold order was created by me according to the divisions of guna and karma. These varnas are not invariably based on birth, and as such, they cannot be equated with the present day caste. The varnas are chosen by individuals, whereas the castes are what they are born into. The Varnas are rational divisions of humanity aimed at the progress of the individual as well as the society that he lives in. Even today, we see the spiritual, defense, economic, and service sectors in every society. Given this, isn't it amazing that the rishis of the years ago thought about this rational division? The caste system, on the other hand, is the bane of humanity, creating a lot of heartburn, bad blood, and its notion of superiority and inferiority. Caste system denies a well-earned value to the individual, even in the face of great service and accomplishments. You can see these divisions in number of other ways in any society. For example, we have the upper class, upper middle class, and lower class. So so in other contexts, we also invariably come to these kinds of divisions. But here I'm only going to talk about the divisions based on Varna. According to the Varna system, all the activities that humans engage are broadly divided into four categories, and each individual is free to choose any one of them and belong to it, bearing in mind his or her own inclinations and capacities. Birth in a particular Varna may help one to some extent in making one's choice, but it is neither inevitable nor necessary for a Brahmin's son to be a Brahmin, a Kshatriya's child to be a Kshatriya, a lawyer's daughter may or may not be a lawyer. It is not necessary that a teacher's son should invariably become a teacher. The fundamental basis of the Varna system, according to the Vedas, is the merit, profession, and nature of each individual and not birth exclusively. Birth in a particular family may cast its influence and may also help or impede to an extent the individual to make his or her own choice. But this is of secondary importance. In the Yajurveda, we read Brahmin was its face, Kshatriya was made its arms, he who is Vaishya was its thighs, the feet was the Shudra. This is in verse 31. Human society is in need of services of the intellectual, martial, mercantile, and manual classes, service classes. For the harmony of any society, these sectors must work together in a spirit of cooperation and not one of hostility. All the organs of perception are located in the head, and it is precisely these functions that a Brahmin does in society. He who fulfills, he learns and educates others. He who fulfills in society the functions carried on by the arms is a Kshatriya. The arms are the administrative as well as the protective organs of the body, and it is precisely this thing that a Kshatriya does in society. He rules, he protects. The thighs represent the central part of the body. In the central part, from the neck down, are situated the heart, the lungs, the stomach, etc. All are important organs that keep the body alive and help its development. These jointly produce the energy and distribute to the rest of the body. He who does the same thing in society, that is, who produces wealth and utilizes it for the benefit of society, is called a Vaishya. The feet uphold and support the whole body, and the one who carries the whole weight of the society is a Shudra, the service sector person. The ridiculous idea of looking down on a Shudra or a service person as a slave or a subhuman never arises in the Vedas. Never. Suppose a Brahmin pricks the foot. Suppose a thorn pricks the foot of a Shudra. It is the head, the Brahmin, that sighs in grief first. It is the Aurum, the Kshatriya, who rushes to remove the thorn. There is no question whatsoever of inferiority or superiority among them. Each one is doing his or her own duty. Each Varna is equally great and useful in the sphere of their activity for the common good of society. The Vedas strike at the very root of this stupid notion of superiority and inferiority, as for example in Rigveda, these men are without superiors and without inferiors. They are brothers. They march onward for prosperity. God is their father, and Mother Earth feeds them and produces happy days for them and for the rest of the society. Among these men, there are no superiors, no inferiors, no middle ones either. They become great from small beginnings. They make progress in different ways, but didn't have their merits. By birth, they're all highborn because they're all children of Mother Earth. O Lord of the universe, be available to us in a lovable manner. Rigveda says that. The message of equality cannot be overemphasized. One may belong to any one of the four Varnas, it makes no difference. They all enjoy equal rights besides commanding equal respect. Listen to what Atharva Veda says in this regard. May your thoughts and hymns be common. May your assembly be common. May your austerity vow, spiritual resolve be common. May the mind of you all be united. I provide you all with common food and drink and needs of life. Enter from all sides and merge entirely in the common consciousness. O you men, may your water reservoirs be full. May you share the food, enjoy congregationally. I unite you all under the yoke of common code of conduct with one another. Worship the Lord of luster congregationally, just as his spokes touch the hub from all. The Vedas give a complete description of the members of the Varna Ashrama. We will give these descriptions for each four constituents. Regarding Brahmins, Rigveda says, devoted deeply to God and enjoying his bliss, absolutely non-violent, engaged in the conducting of yajnas, brilliant with the splendor of knowledge, and engaged in penance, sweating in severe discipline, propagating the universal and divine Vedic knowledge. The Brahmins move about openly as though they were hidden before, and now they come out with flying colors after completing their spiritual activities like the deep study of scriptures, concentration, meditation, etc. In Gita, we see the description of a Brahmin in chapter 18, verse 42. Serenity, self-control, austerity, purity, forbearance, and uprightness, wisdom, knowledge, and faith in religion, these are the duties of the Brahmin, born of his nature, Swabhava, and station, Swadharma. Brahmins are intellectual, unselfish by nature, learned, and enlightening with knowledge, steadfast in devotion to God and service to humanity. They're indeed like the head of humanity. The so-called caste into which they are born is of no consequence. If the above characteristics are found in them, they are Brahmins. Regarding Kshatriyas, Sri Krishna says, heroism, vigor, steadfastness, resourcefulness, not fleeing even in battle, generosity, and leadership. These are the qualities of Kshatriya born with his nature, according to Gita. Adherence to spiritual resolve, purity of character, erudition in political and administrative science, zeal to solve problems via non-violent means, undivided and single-minded devotion to God, constant endeavor to uphold truth and justice, all-comprehensive protection of the people at times of peace and war. These are the traits that mark a Kshatriya. Regarding Vaishya, I inspire the affluent man of commerce. May he be favorably disposed to us. May he be for our forerunner, our guide on the path of prosperity, crushing miserliness and inimical sense of greed, being the master of wealth. May he be the giver of wealth to me in Atharva Veda. Regarding Shudras, or the service people, desirous of protection from others, bereft of high attachments, still not detached from the world, untiring, indefatigable, unfrightened by death, unailing, undebilitated by old age, strong and sturdy, free from ambition and free from greed, rock-like in strength and respectable are all qualities of a service person or a Shudra, according to Rig Veda. In Gita, we see in chapter 18, for Vaishyas, agriculture, tending to cattle, and trade are the duties of a Vaishya, born of his nature. Work of the character of service is the duty of Shudra, born of his nature. Shudra is not commonly referred to as a peon or a low-level manual worker. Shudra, in my opinion, encompasses all the services that provide. If you remove the service people in the society, society cannot function. We need a mail delivery person. We need all sorts of service people without whom we cannot survive. If anyone thinks the Shudras are considered an inferior species, he or she would do well to cleanse his or her own mind of the preconceived notions and read afresh the divine scriptures that Vedas are. It is on their untiring, selfless service that the humanity relies on, and only on account of toils of these service people the society make progress. It is well to remember the meaning of the word Shudra. Shudra is he who is always fit and active is a Shudra. He moves with luster born of unselfishness. Shu, Ashu, Dravati, Iti, Shudra. The Varnas are watertight compartments. Different members of the same family may belong to different Varnas and yet live under the same roof. There is no segregation of these four classes. Names may change, outward appearances may change, but the classes given to intellectual, martial, mercantile, and manual labor have always been there in all countries, in all societies. They will always be there in the future too, whether the states are communist, socialist, capitalist, imperialist, or secular. The Vedic principles are eternal and universal, and they assert there is nothing like superior or inferior among these classes. So you see, the Vedas are very clear that you cannot classify them as superior and inferior. They're all the same, but they do different tasks assigned to them by the nature of the gunas. The following two mantras summarize these things. I'm an industrial worker. Another of my relative is a doctor. My daughter is a sculptor. We are all differently talented. We are all desirous earning well. We stand united as though one follows the other. O spiritual master, shower thy mercy on each one of us, embodied souls in Rigveda. In Atharva Veda, he says, Lord of affection, endear me to the intellectual souls. Make me a loud one amidst the people of martial valor. Endear me to all those who can see among the service people, and the commercial community. So that sort of explains the various natures or the individual qualities that enable one to serve in society as either a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra. Caste has nothing to do with it. Caste is a abominable misrepresentation of the Varna system explained in the Vedas and reiterated by Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, which is the Jnana Yoga. That's where he says the fourfold grouping, a division based on duties and qualities, was created by me. So you have three gunas, Rajoguna, Sattva guna, Rajoguna, and Tamo guna. We all have these three gunas. Normally, it is said when you get up in the morning, you're full of sattva. As the day progresses, you become rajasic, and as the day ends towards the evening, you become tamasic. If sattva guna is predominant in you, rajoguna is second, and tamoguna is third, then it's called a Brahmin based on the gunas. The Brahmin is predominantly sattvic in nature, next is rajasic because he's active, and lastly is tamasic. If rajasic is your major guna, followed by sattva, and then tamas, it's called kshatriya. Rajasic means activity and all the time. Sattva. So kshatriya is always a sattva that he is also understands dharma and compassion. If rajasic is predominant and tamasic is next and sattva is the last, it is called vaishya. And if tamasic is predominant, rajasic is next, and sattva is the least, then it's called shudra. The Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra are combinations of these three gunas. So SRT, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, is Brahmin. Rajas, Sattva, and Tamas is Kshatriya. Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva is Vaishya. And Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva is Shudra, or the service person. So the four groups of people, as Krishna says, are classified according to their combination of gunas. So there is nothing superior or inferior about them. As I said, the same person can have these different combinations depending on during the time of day. And then there's also a duty-based society. You know, for society to function, each one of us have a certain duty to perform. We should do that to the best of our ability so that the entire society can progress. So the four groups of people, according to Guna, and the four groups of people, they all follow their prescribed duty. Superiority is determined by one's maturity and nothing else. Given these four descriptions, I tend to argue that the Varna system is a rational way of classifying people in a society for convenience, but it is not the caste system. A caste is what one is born into, but Varna system is based on one's individual quality and one's individual duty. Our duty might change, but our qualities do not necessarily change. So if I'm predominantly Rajasic, I remain predominantly Rajasic. But I want you to understand that the Varna system is based on a very simple combination of one's gunas. It has nothing to do with one's birth in any family. It might help you. If you are born in a Brahmin family, it might help you to become a Brahmin, but not necessarily so. It's like I said, the son of a teacher need not be a teacher, son of a carpenter need not be a carpenter. but it depends on the combination of Varnas they have. I'll stop at this point, and I know there are a number of people who have different views on this topic. I'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you very much. Nice discussion that you had. For many of the things, just made a couple of comments. The word caste system came with the presence of Portuguese people who came in 1492, when from Portuguese language, casta is a word. And from that word, caste system came about to be used by Indian people. And that was perpetuated by Britishers. And that's how the caste system came about. I appreciated the way you beautifully described the caste system and emphasizing the Chaturvarnyam Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhagasha, based upon the qualities that you have and the activities and functions that you do. It is interesting is every part of the society is equally important. And I like your example of somebody getting hit with a little corn at the bottom, and that is painful. And the eyes on the person identifies where the thorn is, and then immediately with your arms, with Kshatriya, taking care of that thorn out and making the person comfortable. So every part of the society is equally important. And like a spoke of every wheel, like Martin is on the line there, realize that bicycle cannot run smoothly without every part of the bicycle running very smoothly. As a matter of fact, in the 8th century and the 14th century, when the visitors visited India, and I can give the references up there a little later, they described the society functioning beautifully without any problems. And subsequently, as you have remembered in the past, Prasanna, when the Muslims attacked India and defeated the kings, Kshatriyas, and gave a financial break to the Brahmins and Buddhist monks, and asked other people to be taxed, called jizya tax. And that's where the problem started, when the family started telling lies that somebody is well trained as a Brahmin, even though that person, the child, may not be properly trained. So these are some of the reasons why the things became the wrong way. The last comment I want to make is, if you come to a temple in Minneapolis, we have a Jagannath temple. There are 3 siblings in the same temple. One of them is Balabhadra, the oldest of the siblings, who raises crops as a farmer, sells it, makes money off it, and lives happily, and he is a Vaishya. In between the 2 brothers is standing a little beautiful sister of theirs, Subhadra, who takes care of the people, teaches, encourages them how to dance, music. So she is the one who is the educator. She's a Brahmin. And the one who protects us is called Jagannatha. He is a Kshatriya who protects us with his strength and power and know-how of leadership. So 3 siblings from the same family acting together to support the society and have different varnas, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Brahmin. The key is, it is not based upon the family you are born in, but the activities that you have, as you rightly said, and the aptitude that you have within yourself. Thank you for discussing so brilliantly. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Shashi. Very, very well put. Even as one of the in the chat, one of the commentators says, Lord Krishna, protector of cows, Gopala, and is protector, is defied, he invalidates elitist genetic and Nepotistic, bigoted, egotistic caste system. So Krishna is a good example.
Exactly. Any other questions or comments for Professor Kumar?
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head with the with the description. I didn't know about the way the caste system came from. You pointed out from the Portuguese in the 1492 or so. And that, yeah, that's still with us. But uh, societies have tried to get away from the caste system in one form or the other. But for some reason or the other, any of the in any of the remedies they try to impose, it only deepens this divide. And this division goes on. And, one of the things that comes to my mind is this. My brother was working in the Defense Department. He was a radar engineer, mostly spending his time in the Himalayas, testing out the radar for the military. And his boss did not like the classification. They had the senior scientific officer, junior scientific officer, and scientific officer. And the boss who came from the US, educated here, is a very, very intelligent man. He said, I want to get rid of all of this. And so all of you will be called as just scientific officers. And that caused this, people were happy at the beginning because everybody is a scientific officer. But somehow the idea of the division still came in. So after a while, they started saying scientific officer grade 1, scientific officer grade 2, scientific officer grade 3. So the divisions came about. And so he tried to change that, but we didn't succeed very well. But at least the idea got on. So the government also in India, they tried very hard to get rid of the caste system. But many of the things they have done is just, I don't think it has worked very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has deepened the reservation system is an example where it has reinforced the caste system rather than get rid of it. But I think we should recognize that there are classes of people in any society who are not treated fairly, who are not treated.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we should make every effort to make sure that they are accorded the equal respect.
So as a
Namaste.
matter of fact, that's why they call Haripul of God. Hari said that
Yeah.
was called by the political leaders. One more comment I want to make before Naina says something at the same. As far as historical references are concerned, in the 8th century, Muhammad bin Qasim came from Baghdad, and in the 11th century, Al-Biruni came from Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
There are extensive reports about travels in India and emphasize how beautifully and smoothly the society was functioning. So till the time the Muslims came, the system was working beautifully. And these are the travel people who described the description of functioning of the society. Thank you. Naina?
Just a question. Well, actually, a comment that discrimination, the whole idea of discrimination between castes and between people and etc., is rather a relatively new phenomenon, because all of the Varnas were afforded the same value, because it's a one well-oiled machinery of society that everyone has a role to play, and you do that, and it's not according to birth, as you say, not necessarily, only because sometimes father teaches the son what he knows, and etc., and that's how it perpetuates. But so when I sometimes talk to Americans that come as a group to our temple tours, on the tours, they always talk about the caste system.
Yeah.
I say, well, it was not meant to be this way. This was for the order of society, the structure, etc. You do need the teachers and the intellectuals and the professors, and then you do need the military and the law enforcement, and then so you need all these functions, but now it's become sort of a perversion of what it's supposed to be. So, I don't go into it too much, but this is what I say. And you just kind of told me that, yes, that is kind of true. This is how you should treat it.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciated this presentation, and I was especially intrigued by the notion that sort of the most fitting, um, the most fitting Varna is governed by the relative importance of the three gunas, and it's a different combination for each one. And what the thought that brought to me is that as one goes through life, the dominance of a guna within oneself can shift. It is, I suppose, probably quite common that you shift from Rajasic to Sattvic over time, right?
Yes.
And um, does that carry the implication that it might be very fitting also uh, to change your Varna as you progress through life?
Yeah, it's maturity, I think. As you mature, there are certain stages in life where you're more rajasic, more active, and less contemplative. In a grihastha when you're taking care of a family, you're
Mhm.
constantly working to make sure you've hardly any time for contemplation. That's why they talk about brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. So as the time goes, one evolves. It's not necessarily true. One can remain rajasic all through their life or tamasic all through their life. If you're addicted to drugs, you're tamasic all through your life. But on the average person has an opportunity to evolve the uh, from the rajasic towards more sattvic as time goes on. And this is what Krishna says. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. You have to transcend the gunas. By transcending the gunas, I mean you reach a state wherein you recognize your true nature. At that time, the gunas have no effect on you. Until the time you can't get rid of them. One thing is true. Consciously, you can progress in the gunas. It's up to you, up to the individual.
Johnny,
Yes.
to a specific question you're talking about changing the Varna, I'll tell you a historical story about it. There was a king called Vishwaratha, subsequently known as Vishwamitra. He was a Rajarshi in the sense he was a king, but wanted to change his recognition from Rajarshi to Brahmarshi. So he wanted to change his Varna by his activities. And he had to undergo certain additional penances, changes in his attitude, behavior, and then ultimately became Brahmarshi. So to your specific question, you can certainly change the Varna by your activities. So it is not a question the family that you're born in, but the activities you do and the behavior you express. He was a Rajarshi before, till the time he went to penances and subsequently his Guru, the ultimate Guru, Vashishta, blessed him to be Brahmarshi. So he did change his Varna from being a Kshatriya to a Brahmin towards the end, but he was enlightened. I hope it answers your question.
So, in the context of this discussion, there is a learning or rather teaching I always come to my mind was my mother always told me that it's not what you do, is how well you do it.
Uh-huh.
And what she also said was, I know that or the diksha my guru gave me was vairagya comes from understanding that whatever you're doing is happening through you, not you. Uh, and so you don't have to go to Himalayas and do japas all the time. You can do whatever you are doing today, but understand that it's not you, it's happening through you.
Yeah.
So to
You're
me,
you're an
yeah,
instrument.
yeah, you're an instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pulo Deshpande, actually a great Marathi writer, says that. I cannot explain. I mean, it's a beautiful line in Marathi, but it says that um, um, you are basically not the letter, you are just the address. The
You can
letter
say
comes from
Marathi.
somewhere else.
Say Marathi.
या सेन आल मराठी तुम्ही म्हणजे मजकूर लिहिणारा वेगळाच असतो, तुम्ही फक्त पत्त्याचे धनी असता. So that's kind of my comment on this.
Yeah.
No, I had a question, Meenal. Yeah. So if tamasic is the high, if tamasic stands for kind of laziness, addiction, then how come the kind of the service people, I would say the hardest working people, are assigned to that, or that I didn't quite understand that. Uh, how should I say? I mean, those are some of the hardest
I
working
understand what
people.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Prasanna,
So can you explain that, please?
They still have not completely. Essentially, it's difficult to explain. They're not, I would say, prone to the Brahmin variety of intellectuals thinking, teaching, preaching, etc. Nor are they involved in agricultural or commerce activities, but they do follow the various rules and regulations that are given, assigned to them with sincerity. And from that respect, they don't create any new ideas, but they perform an essential service that is assigned to them. That's about all I can say.
Meenal, I will try to explain to you the way I see it.
Yeah.
When we'll discuss it even further, when we discuss the mathematics point of view in about 2 more, or maybe 3 more weeks down the road, what happens to that Meenal is these are physically strong people. They are able to bear the weight of the society, but they do not have the leadership qualities. So they are easy, comfortable, carrying out the functions directed by the leaders. So that is how they are considered as tamasic. At the same time, remember, Meenal, that being tamasic also is important, because when all of us go to sleep at night,
Tamasic.
our activity that is in full function at that time, not necessarily snoring the way some people do. I'm not talking about anything specific. What I'm trying is, at that time, during deep sleep, the tamasic activity is intense. But that is an important time period in your life during the day, because that's when your brain gets recharged. At that time, you're covered only with Brahmadya Varanam Vidyat. So at that time, you're covered only with a membrane of ignorance from your Atman, which is same as Brahman. And that's the reason, with that close contact, your brain gets recharged. So that tamasic activity during deep sleep is an important aspect too. So there are so many different aspects, the same description, not necessarily lower in the saddle at all. They are physically strong. They don't like to take the leadership role, but carry out the function to make sure the society is sustained. And certain phase with tamasic activity recharges your brain. Without that, you cannot function effectively. Of course, you can function anyway. Meenal, I know the way you run and keep physically strong, but if you still need your brain recharge at night. Does that answer your
No,
question?
no, I mean, yes and no. I'm just, I mean, and I also wonder if, because we have kind of attributed that tamasic is the least
No, not at all.
preferred
No.
gun. No, like, they say that you should try to improve your sattvic gun, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. That's why they got in
Basically,
the
a
caste
best for
system downgraded. Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Hi, this is Madhavi. So I was thinking on the lines that Thomas is not just associated with laziness, but also ignorance. So a little less intellectual capacity. That may be the reason, why that is attributed more to the Shudra classes, where, like Dada said, that they are strong physically, but it's the intellectual weakness probably That must be the more defining factor.
No.
No.
Everybody is strong in certain areas. So I won't call them ignorance. There's a strength of bodies. That's not ignorance. That's fine. Ignorance, as you consider as academic, is not necessarily ignorance. Physical strength also strength.
Not ignorance in terms of academic ignorance also, but to to rationalize and like more analytical thinking in
Sure.
that terms. Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Sane, I like to give a comment
Sure.
also. Okay, so I see that Professor Prasanna explained the Varna system very well. And we are perplexed why we are here with a caste system. So Varna system, we had a Varna and Jati system. And Jatis were mobile. They can move around in different Varna based upon, what they did or what their action was, what's their role in society. They like to change their occupation or something. So yes, it was possible. But it was codified by Herbert Riesling in a caste census in 1881. So when they went to, they wanted to have a caste based upon how they rule and to divide and rule also. So they did a caste census. So someone goes there and they say, "What's your caste?" And people don't even know that my jati, which Varna does it really belong to. It was all mobile. There was no, but our society then changed because they codified, and then they say, "Okay, just look at it. If he's strong and all, this person, okay, make him a Kshatriya." Okay. So, and if he's, looks like educated or, someone who doesn't really work hard, so he's a Brahmin. So, codification happened of of Varna into caste in 1881 starting, and then last caste census was in 1931. After that, we did not want to divide into, caste and all that, but caste was used by politicians as a way to stay in politics and say voting and all that. So they started that, okay, you have to give the reservation. Oh, these people are this thing. So now, because divide and rule helps the politician. So they started, and once you get into this appeasement thing that, okay, oh, you're born into this caste, so your caste is stuck, right? So now all the flexibility which Hindu Dharma gave people to become that, okay, you're Brahmin or Kshatriya or Vaishya or Shudra. And it's basically for complementary part of the society became like a yoke put on the society. And now you can't change it because it's the government who is saying that, oh, you belong to this caste and now you are the oppressed or you are the oppressor. And it helps their cause of, by appeasement, they can get the vote. So that's what is happening here, which we have to understand.
I think what you said is true. Just because you're a Brahmin, one should assume a point of arrogance that I am the one who knows everything and Shudra knows nothing. And that's where the problem arises, this gradation, putting them on different pedestals, even though they do the duty assigned to them, but we give undue importance to the title, Brahmin, very high class, Shudra, very low class. That I think is wrong.
Yeah, the classification of upper and lower was done based upon who is more useful to the British colonialists, not based upon whether you have a Sataguna or Rajaguna or other Tamasguna. I mean, in history, a Brahmin who is begging to earn his living can't be a oppressor to a person, say, a metallurgist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you are a steel maker, right? You are rich you are not the oppressed person, right? And the person who's begging you to eat his food is not the oppressor, but it's created by politicians and also the British who enslaved us. So that's what has happened historically, and it's by publicizing and putting into, ruling what the media says. I mean, that's the BBC, right? So,
But it also has its bad aspects. And from personal experience, I can tell you, I was denied admission into medical school in Karnataka, to engineering school in Karnataka, because one of the members on the selection committee told me that you're a Brahmin and we do not have any seats for you. So you better go back and follow your father and do his business. That's what you're supposed to do. So from that point of view, this caste system was really bad. And when I got into an Institute of Science in Bangalore, where they looked only at the merits and the personal interview, they couldn't care less about whether Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra.
right.
Yeah. But
So you were the oppressed.
many of the state universities were not like that. They're quota system. If you're a Brahmin, you must get 95% or above. My classmate had a 60%. He was admitted to everything because he was not a Brahmin. So from that point of view, caste system, I think, has done a lot of damage.
Absolutely.
It's
It's done a
correct.
lot of damage.
So you are, I mean, now, but still it's shown as Brahmin are the oppressor and the rest is oppressed, because it's for the ruler, it makes sense to divide and rule. So
Yeah.
that's what happens. And then you are the oppressor because you are a Brahmin, you have more Satoguna. So you can get, so the reservation and all that against you works, and it should be competition based, everything, but it's not nowadays. That's why the reservation and everything is a, bad thing for India, but no politician can remove it now, because if they try to remove it, they won't be elected. So it's all this bad aspect of caste and everything is continuing in the.
Yeah,
in
you see
India.
the division even here. It goes by different names. You got diversity, equity, inclusion provisions, which the current administration is trying to remove, making to make a so-called level playing field. I don't know if it's going to work out, but there is a certain amount of that in every society.
Yeah, it's happening. And so, well, thank you for talking about this very important topic.
But at least each one of us should ensure that we look at the human being rather than trying to ask ourselves, are you a Brahmin, are you a Kshatriya, are you a Vaishya? I think that's irrelevant.
Yeah. It's up to us to behave the way we should, understanding the subject and treat everybody with respect and reverence. So that's the way I look at it. You can't change the world. You can understand the history and background, but behave exactly the way is appropriate. Each individual is worthy of respect, reverence, and
Yes.
appreciation. So thank you.
Yes. Agree with you.